I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV, episode 74. And yes, that was my radio voice on video. Since we didn't talk about comics last week, we did the Avengers movie review. I want to talk about a book that came out last week, which is Batman Volume 1. This is the collection of the first seven issues of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run. We've mentioned the individual issues many, many times since last September when the series started. And if you've been unable to find some of the early issues, or if you just prefer the collected edition format, now is the time to pick this book up. It is just all kinds of awesome. I think it's going to be talked about for years and years. One of the best Batman runs, and there are only 9 issues in recent memory. And it has a great connection to what's going on currently in the Batman comics, the Night of the Owls crossover. So if you haven't picked up Batman, pick up the hardcover, and then you can jump right into the ongoing series. And we had 3 tie-in issues this week. We had
4 tie-in issues this
4
week.
4 ties. There are 4 on my list. I just can't count. I can't read. That's why I read comics. Birds of Prey number 9. Now, I've loved Birds of Prey from the beginning. I think it's been a very strong series. It has a great kind of A-Team feel to it. The Oceans movie, A-Team, kind of that sort of thing. And the great thing about these tie-in issues is, if you've been reading the series that they're taking part in, you can still appreciate them. If you're not, you can still pick up these single issues and get a feel for the characters and also have that common thread of one of the Talons, or more than one of the Talons, trying to take out these folks in Gotham City. So after Birds of Prey, we had Catwoman number 9. Now, you checked that one out, didn't you?
Yeah, I liked it. Catwoman's been great from issue 1, and I really like the way they've done these tie-ins to Court of the Owls, because, like Mark said, you can do it both ways. If you've been reading Catwoman, this is continuing the threads from Catwoman while introducing these new characters. You don't have to go back and pick up the Batman issues. You should, because they're super awesome, but you don't have to. You know, it gives you the little blurb at the beginning where Alfred has sort of called all allies of the Bats to defend the city and defend people, and then he goes right into a story. And Catwoman follows where they've at. We also get an appearance by the Penguin, and it's just really cool. Catwoman has actually nearly all of the Talons have been, you get a little bit of background about the historical place where the Talon comes from, and this one's fairly cool. I kind of liked it. I thought it was more interesting than some of the other Talon stories we'd seen, and Catwoman, Penguin, Talons, Owls, Terror was awesome.
Well, and one thing that is not on our agenda here, Batgirl number 9 last week was another great example of getting backstory of the Talon, and it's just a really solid story. This crossover is unlike any other crossover that I can remember, where you absolutely don't need to pick up the single issues, but when you do, you're getting a heck of a great story. They're not just tangentially tied into what's going on. There's some real meat there, and they're introducing these new characters, these assassins that are supposed to be cold and calculating, but we're seeing their stories as well. So there's kind of an emotional attachment to it.
Yeah, each of your zombie Talons is a fully realized character. I mean, we get a lot of background on them. It's really well done.
Nightwing number 9 also came out this week, and I said it last month, I'll say it again. Nightwing is one of the most, I don't want to say overlooked books of the New 52 because it's selling pretty well, but it should be selling close to Batman numbers. It's just so consistently good, month after month. Same creative team every month, written by Kyle Higgins and artwork by Eddie Barrows. And Dick Grayson is central to the Talon storyline. He was lined up to be a Talon. In this issue, we see that he fights, slight spoiler warning, just mute it now if you don't want to hear this, his great-grandfather, who was recruited through Haley Circus to become one of the first, if not the first, Talons. So just really, really good stuff.
Also, a Court of the Owls tie-in this week, Red Hood and the Outlaws 9, which is one of the more bizarre ones, seeing as Red Hood's not really a good guy necessarily, and he's not operating out of Gotham. But there are other, again, this follows right up out of the end of the last issue where they were in Gotham to take out someone, Fat Susie, I think her name was. But it was a good issue. I liked it. But it picks up, and he gets the call from Alfred, and even though Jason is at odds with Batman frequently, Gotham is still his hometown, so he's going to step up to the plate and try and stop the Owls from overrunning people. And he actually gets one of the best ones. The Talons are going out to kill prominent or important people in Gotham, and Jason's Talon is after Mr. Freeze. So he has to protect a bad guy from bad guys. And Jason himself is kind of a bad guy. So all sorts of evil in this book. But it was a lot of fun. Roy and Corey continue to provide great, color commentary and to be kind of the fish out of water. But Jason gets to tell them things so that the reader understands them, since neither of them are as familiar with his life as the others are. I've been enjoying Birds of Prey.
You're fired.
Red Hood and the Outlaws since day one, and
we'll be auditioning for a guest host next week. Come by.
To go back to my box for another week.
Back to your hole. Bottom line, the Night of the Owl storyline is just awesome across the board, and it's not too late to get on board and check this stuff out. Over on the other side of the aisle, we've got Avengers vs. X-Men number 4, which resolves some of the conflict that we saw in Avengers vs. X-Men number 3, namely Captain America and Wolverine coming to blows over Wolverine's inability to follow orders and his intention to kill Hope, no matter what the cost. I enjoyed this issue more than the third issue, but the series as a whole it's fun, it's action packed, it's a nice, I don't want to say counterbalance to what's going on over at DC, but they're two completely different. They feel like two completely different crossovers, which they are, which they should. But it's, as a Marvel fan, it's a lot of fun, and it has kind of that Secret Wars feel. All the characters fighting everybody else. So AVX4 was good stuff.
Even better stuff, possibly, in my opinion. AVX Versus 2. This is the continuation of the Versus series that sort of expands on the pairings in the main book. And they tell you the first page and ongoing, it's all about punching. All you need to know is people get hit. You don't even have to read the main book. You just watch these pair-offs. And you're right, it is a completely different feel from Court of the Owls. And it's in a good way. I mean, no one realistically expects the Avengers and the X-Men to be at odds forever. They're going to punch each other. They're probably not going to kill each other. And at the end, there'll be a cool adventure. And that's what we get. AVX sort of highlights that in your AVX Versus, highlights that in some of the just great little sidebar informational bubbles. Basically, there's jokes, essentially, just inserted into the fight. And this time around, we've got Cap and Gambit and probably some other people.
Spider-Man and Colossus / Juggernaut.
Yes, and Spider-Man has some history fighting the Juggernaut, so he gets to see,
Colossus not.
Colossonaut.
Which was, and I really enjoyed the second story. I liked the Cap Gambit one. It's written and drawn by Steve McNiven, who did Civil War, who did Brubaker's New Captain America series. And I love his artwork. It's very detailed. It's very cool looking. But Salvador Larroca does the art on Spider-Man versus Colossus, and it's just great. It is really, really good. And we get some other guest appearances by Daredevil and Mockingbird and Dazzler, of all people. But Versus is I said Avengers versus X-Men is fun. Versus is more fun than that. Also, in the more fun department, I've talked about it in the past with the single issues, but Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Lark's Moon Knight series has come to an end. It was a 12-issue. It was meant to be ongoing, but it was canceled and wrapped up in 12 issues. And the complete saga is available now in 2 nice hardcovers that will look great on your bookshelf. Volume 2 came out this week. Volume 1's been out for a little while. And it's just great Moon Knight fun. I mean, Moon Knight is crazy. We've talked about it before, how he's got multiple personalities, and this time around they are personalities of different Avengers, Wolverine, Captain America, and Spider-Man. And by the end of the book, he's got more than just those 3 talking to him. And it's going to tie in later on with the Age of Ultron, because the whole purpose of Moon Knight in this series, neither one of us can talk today. I don't know what the problem is. Is there's a head of Ultron that makes it to the black market, and it's bought up by Count Nefaria. So we get Madame Mask, we have Count Nefaria, we have Echo, we have Avengers, we have just a whole lot of cool stuff. And I really enjoyed this series. I think it's a shame that it got canceled, and you can get the whole 12 issues now available at Alter Ego or your local comic book store.
And next up, just on the header of things you may not have heard of, there's a relatively new indie book out called Saga. It may have slipped under your radar, but it's really great. It's kind of an intergalactic Romeo and Juliet fantasy awesomeness. Saga 3's out, and it's great. It continues to be great. Every issue, I'm kind of waiting for that point where the book's not as good as the one before it. It hasn't happened yet.
That is not a good way to approach this series.
That's a realistic way to approach any series. But so far, Saga has pleased me every time.
Saga is very pleasing.
I've been pleased by the Saga.
And the cover of this one is great.
Mm-hmm.
It features a ghost girl with her intestines hanging out. So Fiona Staples is drawing some really cool stuff with this. Brian K. Vaughan does not disappoint. And another reason to pick this up in single issues, well, there are two reasons. Number one, the creators and the retailers prefer that you buy this in single issues because the creators need to justify and the publishers production of this in a collected form later on. So if sales aren't high enough for the single issues, they may not get a collected edition. You may never get to read one of the best series of the year.
Also, the book could get canceled.
It could get canceled. I didn't get to that point yet. The other reason is a lot of the creators now, especially with the indie books, are putting in bonus content in the single issues that will not show up in the collected editions, whether it's the letters pages or a commentary on certain aspects of the story, and they make the book even better. You know, the letters page, this is the first letters page in Saga, and it was really fun to read. So Saga 3 is out. All right, I have to take a moment and issue a spoiler warning. If you have not seen the Avengers movie yet, just stop watching now, because the rest of this episode, we're talking about something related to that. So go away, come back next week. And we're back. Thanks for staying with us.
God, am I glad they're gone.
Yeah. We've gotten a lot of questions in the store from people who've seen the Avengers movie, and they're asking who the character is in the scene halfway through the credits. The person that was pulling the strings behind the invasion and pulling Loki's strings is Thanos. Thanos is a character that's been around in the Marvel Universe since, I would say, the late 1970s, mid-1970s. I think he first appeared in Captain Marvel. Jim Starlin created the guy, and he's been a Silver Surfer villain. He's been a Captain Marvel villain. He's been in the Marvel Universe, most recently in Guardians of the Galaxy. And my hunch, which means nothing here in regards to the Avengers movie, is that we may be seeing things set up for an Infinity Gauntlet style movie in Avengers 2. Now, the Infinity Gauntlet was a miniseries that came out in the 1980s where Thanos acquires this gauntlet, and there are infinity gems that give him basically crazy power, infinite power. And he takes on everybody in the Marvel Universe. Avengers, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man, some of the cosmic heroes, they're all there. So my recommendation to you is, if you're curious about this character of Thanos, who shows up during the credits of the Avengers movie, or if you just want to see what might happen next, you should check out the Infinity Gauntlet Collected Edition, available at fine comic book stores everywhere. It's a great miniseries. It's totally self-contained, a definite beginning, middle, and end, and it may be a preview of what's to come in the Avengers movies.
Yeah, and the Infinity Gauntlet's been seen a little more than Thanos has recently. It's been popping up in the Avengers. It was in New Avengers a little bit. The Hood had some of the gems, so it's all over the place. And another, if you want a more modern interpretation, Thanos also popped up in Annihilation and the most recent Guardians of the Galaxy series, which were both incredibly cool. And Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the movies rumored to being tossed around at Marvel as a new possible feature film. So
we could see Thanos show up in Guardians of the Galaxy. We could see Infinity Gauntlet adaptation. We could see a combination of both. Who knows? Nobody knows at this point. We don't even know when the next Avengers movie
Well, somebody
is
knows.
coming out.
It's just not us.
Somebody knows. They haven't told us. I haven't gotten the email.
Josh has not called me lately.
But just wanted to throw that out there. If you're looking to read something and you enjoyed the Avengers movie, we highly recommend checking out the Infinity Gauntlet. It's got tons and tons of characters in it, and continues to show Thanos' fascination with death, which is one of the lines that's mentioned in the movie. So there you have it. That's this week's episode. We'll be back next week. Someone will be back. Maybe both of us, maybe one of us. But we'll be here to provide you our picks for the best of the week. If you have anything to dispute with us, if we've wronged you in any way, or if you have any other suggestions for things that you want to see in the show, or comics you think people should be reading, leave them in the comment section below for all to see. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.